Welcome to the Technical Writing Success Podcast from Kurt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. This is episode 176. I'm Fred Jones, and with me as always is Daphne Blake.
Hey, it's great to be here.
So today we're talking about something, well, I think it's a really crucial, often overlooked step.
Right, the next step.
Exactly. It's what technical teams have to do after they've already done all the hard work of moving their documentation to a task-based approach.
Because a lot of teams think that's the finish line, and it's really not. We're going to get into why.
We're going past just structure and really looking at usability.
And our source for this is a fantastic article by Tanja Lorber. The article is titled Task-Based Documentation and Personas, Bridging Structure and Usability, and it was published on January 9th, 2026.
And it really lays out this practical journey. It's about a team that moved from just organizing by tasks to actually making the content work.
And they did that by defining who the user is in, really concrete terms.
It's the playbook, really, for anyone who's put in all that effort on structure and then, well, they still see those support tickets rolling in.
Yeah, that's the exact scenario the author describes. The starting point was at a company called Stegman Systems, and their documentation was, the classic UI-based approach.
So describing screens and buttons.
Exactly. It mirrored the product, but it didn't guide anyone. It didn't help a user actually get something done.
So their first big project was to reorient everything around tasks.
Total rework.
Not just relabeling things, but really guiding users step by step through an action. It's more instructional design than just writing.
And it was, at first, a huge success. Thinking in tasks gave them a solid framework. Everyone was aligned.
And the initial feedback was good.
Very good. They launched their new knowledge center, and the support teams could immediately start sending users to specific articles instead of troubleshooting everything.
So it felt like a win.
A big one. The content was finally easy to find, and it was all organized logically.
So the team probably felt pretty good. They had this comprehensive library, right? They had the concepts for the why, reference stuff for the details, and the tasks for the how.
They checked all the best practice boxes for structured documentation.
But that's when the problem showed up.
That's when the paradox hit. Yeah. The data was telling a different story.
Oh, interesting.
Despite all this great structure and the positive feedback on, finding the content, support tickets were still piling up.
In the exact same areas they thought they documented so well.
Exactly. Users were finding the tasks, but they were not able to complete them successfully. That was the key.
And that is such a critical turning point. Because if the structure is good, but people still can't use it, the problem isn't the organization anymore.
Right. The problem is how it's being presented. They realized their whole idea of the audience was the fatal flaw.
Too generic.
Profoundly abstract, yeah. The writers would talk about the admin or the novice user.
But those are just labels. They don't mean anything concrete.
They don't. They don't account for what the user actually brings to the table. Their background, their job context, how often they even use the software.
It's like building a perfect highway, but not thinking about whether people are showing up in sports cars or on bicycles. The road is great, but the on-ramps are a disaster.
That is a perfect analogy. The task-based approach built the highway.
But they still needed to figure out who the travelers were.
Which led them to the solution. Personas. They decided to bring personas into their documentation process.
And that was the missing piece. The thing that connected that great structure to, actual usability for real people.
It completely changed how they made every content decision from that point on.
Take a brief break for a special message from our producer, Kurt Robbins.
Hi, this is Kurt Robbins. First, thanks for listening. I truly appreciate your support. I want to let you know that I'm currently accepting new clients. My rates are affordable, and I have more than 25 years of experience working for enterprise companies like Microsoft, Northrop Grumman, Oracle, PNC Bank, FedEx, USAA, and Wells Fargo, among many others. If you want to improve your IT documentation and communications, hire me. I deliver fast, know how to use AI to improve efficiency and accuracy, and love going the extra mile to satisfy my clients. Thank you for subscribing and listening. Back to you, Daphne and Fred.
Welcome back to the Technical Writing Success Podcast.
Okay, so before the break, we established that Stegman Systems had this great task-based structure, but it's still failing on usability.
Right, because their view of the user was way too abstract.
So let's get into the specifics of how personas actually fix that. The author talks about something called the beginner barrier.
Yes, and this was a really clear pattern they saw. The technical content itself, it was correct, It was accurate, but it just assumed too much. It would jump straight into the how to configure a setting without first explaining the why.
Or the basic concept behind it.
Exactly. It just left users who didn't already have that context completely lost.
Now, I've seen teams try to fix this by just tagging content as beginner or advanced.
And that almost never works.
It's too interpretive, right?
Yeah.
My idea of beginner is different from yours.
Exactly. It just leads to inconsistency. But personas, they add that rigor. They stopped asking, what does a beginner need?
And started asking.
They started asking, what does Sarah, our new ops manager, already know? And what technical assumptions can we absolutely not make about her?
That shift right there is everything. The goal isn't to dumb down the technical content.
Not at all. You still need that detail.
But you have to build better entry points. You have to build the right on-ramp for the right user.
That's it. For an experienced database admin, you can assume they know their way around a command line.
Sure.
But if your persona is a help desk technician who lives in a GUI, you have to frame the exact same task completely differently. You need a different introduction.
And how they created these personas is maybe the most practical part of this whole story. This wasn't some huge, drawn-out marketing exercise.
No, not at all. It was very practical. They just ran targeted workshops with their internal subject matter experts, their SMEs.
Because the SMEs are the ones who actually talk to the users. They know the pain points.
They do. And they focus the workshops on a few key areas. First, what are the user's actual daily tasks? Not what the software can do, but what their job requires them to do.
And second, they looked at frequency. How often does someone do this?
Right. A task you do once a year needs way more hand-holding than something you do every single day.
And third, they mapped out where users get stuck.
Which is so important. Those moments of confusion, the things that generate support tickets, that's what defines the persona's knowledge gaps.
And they also made sure to capture the differences in technical background. So not just the architect, but is this an architect with a networking background or a virtualization background?
Because that completely changes what's intuitive to them and what needs to be spelled out.
They also gave them a little bit of a backstory, right, to make them memorable.
Just a little bit, yeah. A quick professional and personal sketch to make them stick in your head.
So you're not writing for role 3. You're writing for Sarah, the new ops manager, who is great at project management, but has never touched a command line.
And that changes everything.
But the author stresses that these were deliberately lightweight. They weren't exhaustive psychological profiles.
That's right. And that was a feature, not a bug.
How so?
Because the goal wasn't perfection. It was consistency and communication. By being lightweight, they were easy to use, easy to remember.
And they gave everyone a shared language.
A shared vocabulary. When a reviewer can say, this is too complex for Sarah, everyone in the room knows exactly what that means. No more arguments about what beginner means.
Okay, so now they have this shared vocabulary. They have these personas guiding the writing. But the next challenge is consistency, right?
Always.
How do you make sure every single writer on every single topic is actually using them correctly?
And that's where they brought in a bit of modern tech. They trained a specialized GPT model.
An AI.
An AI, yeah. They fed it all the information about their established personas and basically turned it into a super-informed review assistant.
Now, to be clear, the article says the AI is there to support decisions, not make them.
Absolutely not. It doesn't write the content. It's more like a consistency checker on steroids.
It's a very sophisticated linter.
That's a great way to put it. The writer tags a topic for a specific persona, let's say Marcus, the help desk technician.
Okay.
The AI then scans the text based on Marcus's defined skills and knowledge, and it'll highlight things. Like, hey, you're using networking jargon here that Marcus wouldn't know, or you've jumped into the steps without providing the conceptual on-ramp that Marcus needs. It flags those gaps.
So it automates the empathy check.
It automates the empathy check. That's it. Which frees up the human reviewers to focus on technical accuracy and the overall flow.
Which brings us back to the author's main point. Task-based documentation was the foundation.
It was the essential first step, the structural basis, but it was the personas that actually bridged that gap to make the content truly usable.
The structure got them organized, but the empathy guided by personas is what made it accessible.
Exactly.
It's such a powerful idea for any team that feels like they've hit a wall. So for everyone listening, I want you to think about your own projects. Find that one abstract audience label you always use, that vague novice user or general admin, and ask yourself, could you replace that with a specific named lightweight persona? Just give that user a name and a context and see how it changes your perspective.
That really is a challenge that can unlock so much more success.
Thank you for listening to the Technical Writing Success Podcast from Kurt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share. We'll see you next time.